Hi teachers, I'm Victoria Carlton. I'm a teacher, I'm a trainer and an author. And it being the second week of the holidays, of course, I'm thinking about what I'm going to be teaching the kids that I teach this coming term. And I'm thinking a lot about mathematics. And I thought that this week I would share with you some of the maths ideas that I use with children. So this is the second in a series of quick videos. There are 4, A, B, C, and D, and this is B today. So yesterday I briefly discussed the sort of model that I use for teaching, how I try and make sure that every lesson that we teach, no matter what we're teaching, has a creative element. The kids get to be reflective. It's got to be relevant. It must be engaging and explicit and active and multisensory as well. And I try to get through to kids that maths is everywhere. Maths isn't just in our workbooks. Maths is everywhere. We're doing maths all day long, right from the moment we wake up and we look at our clocks, right to the moment that we go to bed. And that all children can succeed at mathematics. All children can succeed at mathematics. So it's not just when you're doing your workbook. So we talked yesterday about where can you teach maths? Well, basically you can teach maths everywhere, from the sandpit, folding laundry, looking at sports scores, everywhere. And if we just teach it in maths lessons, and when the kids are actually doing maths worksheets, then we're really not exposing kids to mathematical problems and real mathematical processes. Classification is such a vast subject, such a really big part of mathematics, but also such a big part of every subject area. You know, it's very big in science and it's very big in language education as well. Our brains are forever searching for harmony and order. This is part of being human. And so every time we give children the chance to actually sort out materials and classify materials according to shape, according to taste, to smell, to color, all of those sorts of things, we're helping them to classify their world. And it helps to develop that sense of harmony and order. So this morning I was working with a child. We were using a calendar and we were looking at the months and we were classifying the months according to whether we had birthdays in those months, also according to whether they were hot months or cooler months as well. So there are so many different ways that we can use classification, and not just in our maths lessons. We can also use classification, by the way, when we're teaching literacy. We can sort out words according to how many letters in the word. Do these words start with a s or not, and putting them into 2 piles. So think out of the square when it comes to classification, because it's virtually everywhere. It's important that we play games with kids when we teach maths. And in fact, apparently it's very important that we use the word games, because children think, games, it's going to be fun. And even if you say to them, right, we're going to have a game with these flashcards and see who can get the most flashcards done, or which group can get the most flashcards done and write the answers down. Because you use the word game, they go into a slightly different mental space. So play games with them as much as possible and try and keep it hands-on. Remember that kids do need counters, all right? They've got their fingers. Let them use their fingers, okay, for as long as they need to. And, let's be really honest, even as adults, we sometimes go back to fingers, might drum them onto our knees and do it, but we actually do use them sometimes when we're tired. And of course, you've just got good old-fashioned counters, yellow one side, red the other side. There are all sorts of different counters, counting materials that we can use, but let them use counters for as long as they need it. It's like, when children are sounding out words, children need to sound out words for as long as they need to. We can't hurry this process up, all right? We need to allow the children to have those crutches for as long as they need it. Try and think creatively. Kids love that sort of thing. Try and every now and again, try and spark things up. Towards the end of term, I often get my magnetic marbles out. All right, you can see they stick to each other. And the kids can easily put them into groups of 4 and 5, and we make great big snakes with them. We classify them according to the different colors, according to the number of marbles that we put into each group. The kids love these, all right? But I only usually get them out towards the end of term, and we use them to revise. We use them a lot to put them into 2s, into 3s, so skip counting. Lots of different things we can do just with this one pack of magnetic marbles. So think creatively, because when we do something like that, we actually give the kids a bit of a jolt in their mind. We sort of give them a jolt and we get them back, and they're not just sitting there doing worksheets. So it's really important that we think a little differently. I use a treasure box for counting a lot, and it is simply one of those cardboard boxes that you can buy, right? And then you fold it up and you turn it into a box, just a treasure box. Didn't cost very much. And the kids love this because they never know what's going to be inside it, right? I don't even know half the time. I've got to remember to change it around every day or so. So in here at the moment, I've got, you know, what the kids euphemistically call diamonds. I've got a whole heap of these lovely plastic shiny things. We count those. We've also got some gold ones as well. So we count the gold ones. We see if there's more gold ones than white diamonds. At the moment, we've also got some little erasers that top the pencils as well. So we look at those, we look at the shapes of them, and we count those as well. So there are always different things in this box for counting. Sometimes we'll compare one group with another. Sometimes we might get a group of things out and we might take something away, or we might add something to that group, but it just sparks up the interest. So all it is just a box. You could make a far more exciting box and cover it with gems and all sorts of things, but it's just a treasure box for counting. So you might like to try that out. It's really important that we teach the main processes in maths, and that we do it really pretty much from the beginning, but teach it so that kids can perceive the relevance. That means that when we are adding things, that kids really get that we're combining them. So that's what plus means. So using that language, the language of mathematics, is really crucial. It's the same as taking something away, right? Making, you know, getting the Play-Doh out, making the little eggs and taking 3 away or 2 away, actually getting hands on with this, incredibly important. Times tables are something that you only gradually lead up to, but we start off by doing lots of things, like using the magnetic marbles, you know, lots of 2s, lots of 3s. So you can't expect kids to really get what you're talking about unless they get hands-on with the materials. Division is usually something that's really, really hard to teach, but it's not hard to teach if you've got food. If you've got kids and food and you've got lollies or something like that, and you're dividing up and seeing, you know, how many Easter eggs does each kid have, or how many bits of pie does each kid have, and the children are involved in the process, it's natural division. That's why I always say to parents, you can teach so much of this mathematics at home, because there are so many different opportunities and so many different ways that you can do it. So it's incredibly important that we make our teaching as hands-on as we can, and that we use as many different games as we can. So I think that supertising is really, really important for children, and that's where they have to recognise the numbers so I use a lot of dominoes so that they can just look at these and they can look at them straight away. Oh yes, we've got 2 lots of 6 here. All right, how many can you see here? 1. How many can you see here? So I use these like flashcards a lot, and we play lots and lots of games with these really giant dominoes. And I find them very helpful. So I've had them for years, but I use them almost every week in my teaching. I also, in my teaching, I use dice a lot, huge number of dice. I've got dice like this, which are really, really handy, and you can look inside them and you can see we've got 4 white dots, but if the kids look inside there, they can also see there's 6 little black dots as well. So for older children, they can add those up, the 4 and the 6, and then they can write them down or they can tell me the answer. So there's so many different ways that we can use these dice. We can also throw 2 dice down. We can throw them onto the table and then we can add them up, or we can take the small number away from the large number. So I have large sets of dice as well, and I find these are really, really handy. We use them in lots of different ways. We supertise with them, looking at the number and quickly saying what the number is. We add them up. We take them away from each other. Sometimes we'll get 3 dice out and see if we can do that with it as well. So what I'm really saying to you is that actually these materials are not expensive. They're not expensive and they can be used in many, many different ways. So when you can, try to make sure that in your maths education, that you make it as hands-on and as relevant as you possibly can. So tomorrow, I'm going to be talking about different ways that we can bring art into teaching mathematics, and also we're going to be talking a lot about teaching geometry tomorrow as well, and some of the games we can play. So thank you. I hope you're having a great day, and talk to you again soon. Bye.
For more of Victoria Carlton's tips, go to YouTube and search Victoria Carlton Programs. Victoria's products are available on Teachers Pay Teachers. They cover literacy, emotional intelligence, and Sunday school lessons. Victoria's website address, blog, and email address are on the screen in front of you. Victoria Carlton reserves the right of copyright on all her products.